My daughter thought I didn't see her drop a strange powder into my soup. When she walked away, I switched our plates. You won't believe what happened next. Actually, that's a lie. Nothing happened next. Not immediately, anyway. Emily came back from the kitchen carrying a basket of bread, smiling that smile she'd been giving me for the past 3 months, the one that didn't reach her eyes, the one that made her look like she was doing community service at a nursing home instead of having dinner with her father. "Here you go, Dad," she said, setting the basket down. Still warm. I nodded, watching her settle into her seat across from me. Brandon, my son-in-law, sat to her right, scrolling through his phone like he'd been doing since they arrived. 26 years old, and the kid couldn't put down his screen for 30 minutes, not even for a free meal. Emily picked up her spoon, my spoon, technically, since we'd switched plates, and dipped it into the soup. French onion, her favorite. Or at least, it used to be her favorite back when she was 12, and we'd go to that diner on Route 9 every Sunday after church, back when she actually wanted to spend time with me. She brought the spoon to her lips, paused, then set it down. "You know what?" she said. "I'm not that hungry after all." I raised an eyebrow. "You drove 40 minutes to get here." "I know, She glanced at Brandon, who didn't look up from his phone. "I had a late lunch. Big salad, you know how it is." I knew exactly how it was. I took a deliberate spoonful of what had been her soup, the one she'd so carefully doctored while I pretended to check the mail by the front door. The soup tasted fine. Onions, beef broth, that Gruyere cheese she always insisted on, no chemical aftertaste, no bitterness. Whatever she'd put in there wasn't meant to poison me. That narrowed down the possibilities considerably. "Suit yourself," I said, taking another spoonful. "More for me." Emily's jaw tightened, just slightly, just enough for me to notice. She had her mother's jaw, sharp, defined, stubborn as hell. Her mother used to get that same look when I'd catch her in a white lie. Nothing serious, just those little social lubricants people use to get through the day. "No, honey. Those pants don't make you look fat." "Yes. Your meatloaf is delicious, even though we both know you burned it." That kind of thing. But this wasn't a white lie. This was something else entirely. Brandon finally looked up from his phone. "This bread is really good, Grant. Where'd you get it?" "Bakery on 5th, I said. "The one next to the hardware store." "Nice." He took another piece, slathered it with butter. "We should check that place out, babe." Emily wasn't listening. She was watching me eat her soup, her fingers drumming against the table in a rhythm I recognized. The same nervous pattern she used to tap out when she was 7 and waiting to see if I'd noticed she'd broken my favorite coffee mug. I'd noticed then too. I just hadn't said anything. That was always my problem. I noticed everything and said nothing. Well, that was about to change. I finished the soup, wiped my mouth with a napkin, and leaned back in my chair. The dining room felt smaller than it used to, maybe because Emily and Brandon filled it with tension instead of conversation, or maybe because I'd been eating alone in here for 3 years, ever since Linda died, and I'd forgotten what it was like to have people at the table who didn't want to be there. "So," I said, "what's this really about?" Emily blinked. "What do you mean?" "You drove 40 minutes. You're not eating. Brandon's been on his phone since you walked in. You've checked your watch 4 times in the last 10 minutes. I folded my hands on the table. Either you've got somewhere important to be, or you came here for a reason that wasn't dinner. Brandon pocketed his phone. Finally. "We actually did want to talk to you about something, Grant." "Brandon," Emily said, her voice sharp. "What? He's asking." Brandon turned to me, putting on what I assumed was his professional face. The one he used in his real estate videos, probably. All teeth and confidence and absolutely no substance. "We've got an opportunity, a really good one, but we need a little help to make it happen." There it was. I'd been expecting this conversation for months, ever since Emily started calling more often. Ever since the visits increased from once every 3 months to once a month to twice a month. You don't suddenly become a devoted daughter at 26 unless you want something. What kind of help? I asked. Emily shot Brandon a look that could have stripped paint. We were going to ease into this. I'm 52 years old, I said. I work 10-hour shifts at a trucking depot. I don't have time for easing into things. Emily's expression softened. Or tried to. It was like watching someone remember they were supposed to be acting. Dad, you know we wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I don't know anything yet. You haven't asked. She took a breath. Brandon's business is really taking off. The real estate videography thing. He's getting clients all over the state. But to scale up, to really make it work, we need better equipment, a new camera, better lighting. Drone footage is huge right now. Okay, I said. Okay? Brandon leaned forward. So you'll help? I didn't say that. I said, okay, I'm listening. Emily pulled a folder from her purse. An actual folder, with papers inside. They'd come prepared. She slid it across the table to me. We put together a business plan, she said. Revenue projections, equipment costs, everything. We just need someone to co-sign a loan. The bank won't approve us on our own because Brandon's business is still technically new. But with your credit, your stable employment history... I opened the folder. 20 pages of professional-looking documents, charts, graphs, numbers that probably meant something to someone who cared about Brandon's videography business. I flipped through them slowly, letting the silence build. How much? I asked. 80,000, Brandon said. I closed the folder. That's not a little help. That's a lot of help. We'll pay you back, Emily said quickly. With interest. We've already got clients lined up. This is just to cover the startup costs. If you've got clients lined up, why do you need $80,000? Brandon opened his mouth, closed it. Emily jumped in. The equipment costs more than we thought, and we need to put down deposits. First month's rent on a proper studio space. Insurance. It adds up. I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. The designer purse that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. The highlights in her hair that definitely cost more than my monthly grocery bill. The way she held herself, like someone who'd never been told no in her entire adult life. Let me think about it, I said. Dad, I said let me think about it. I stood up, collecting the plates. It's a big decision. I need time. Emily's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Frustration, anger, something that might have been genuine hurt. Then that practiced smile came back, the one that didn't reach her eyes. Of course, she said. Take your time. We know it's a lot. Brandon stood too, already reaching for his phone. Thanks for dinner, Grant. Really appreciate it. They left 10 minutes later. I watched from the window as Brandon's Audi, another thing they apparently couldn't afford but somehow had anyway, pulled out of my driveway. Emily didn't look back at the house. She never did. I went to my office, the small room off the kitchen where I kept my files and my computer and the bourbon Linda used to pretend she didn't know about. I poured 2 fingers into a glass and sat down at my desk. The office had a lock. A good one. I'd installed it myself after Linda died, not because I had anything particularly valuable in here, but because I liked having one room in the house that was completely mine. One space where I could think without ghosts. I opened my file cabinet and pulled out the folder labeled Emily. Inside were bank statements, credit card bills, documents I'd collected over the past 6 months after I started noticing things. After Emily's phone calls became more frequent. After she started asking questions about my finances, my retirement accounts, my insurance policies. Questions that seemed casual, but weren't. The first statement showed Emily's checking account was overdrawn by $3,000. The credit card bill showed a balance of $42,000, spread across 4 different cards. The third document was a notice of eviction, not followed through, apparently, but dated 2 months ago. My daughter wasn't successful. She was drowning, and she just tried to drug me. I took a sip of bourbon and thought about what might happen if someone were to drink soup laced with a sedative. They'd get tired, probably pass out. Wake up a few hours later feeling groggy and confused. Wake up, perhaps, to find their office had been searched, their documents examined, their signature forged on papers they never actually signed. I looked at the folder Emily had given me, still sitting on the dining room table where I'd left it. $80,000, co-signing a loan, putting up my assets as collateral for a business that would inevitably fail because Brandon had the work ethic of a sleeping cat. But they weren't going to ask me to sign. They were going to make me sign. Or rather, they thought they were. I finished my bourbon and went back to the kitchen. The soup bowls were still in the sink. I ran water over Emily's bowl, watching the traces of French onion soup spiral down the drain. Then I looked closer at the residue. There, a faint white powder barely visible against the ceramic. Water-soluble, which meant it would have dissolved completely if Emily had actually eaten the soup. Smart, harder to detect after the fact. I dried the bowl carefully and put it in a plastic bag, evidence in case I needed it, though I wasn't sure yet what I needed it for. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "Thanks for dinner, Dad. Let us know what you decide. Love you. Love you." 2 words she used to mean. 2 words that had become punctuation, meaningless filler at the end of a message, like sincerely or regards in a business email. I didn't respond. Instead, I went to my computer and started searching. Emily Kavanaugh Holt's social media was public. Surprisingly public, considering what she did for a living. Or maybe not surprising. Maybe that was the point. Project success even when you're failing, especially when you're failing. Her Instagram was a carefully curated highlight reel. Brunches, cocktails, beach weekends. Brandon's camera equipment featured prominently in several posts, all captioned with variations of husband goals and building our empire. The comments were enthusiastic, supportive, completely oblivious to the financial reality I'd documented in my filing cabinet. I clicked through to her Facebook. More of the same, but with longer captions. Inspirational quotes, humble brags disguised as gratitude. And then, buried in a post from 3 weeks ago, something interesting. A photo of Emily and Brandon at some kind of networking event. The caption read, "So grateful for family support as we build our dreams. Couldn't do this without the people who believe in us." The comments section was where it got good. "Your dad must be so proud," from someone named Hazel. Emily's response, "He's been amazing. So generous." Generous. I hadn't given them a dime. I scrolled further back. More comments. More references to my supposed generosity. Emily had been telling people I was funding Brandon's business. She'd been building a narrative where I was the proud father, opening my wallet to help my daughter succeed. Which meant, when I refused to co-sign that loan, I wouldn't just be denying them money. I'd be making Emily look like a liar, making Brandon look like a failure, making them both look like the desperate, drowning people they actually were. No wonder they'd come prepared with sedatives. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark office, thinking. The house was quiet. It was always quiet. 3 years of quiet, ever since Linda's funeral, when Emily had cried appropriately and left appropriately and called appropriately once a week for about a month before the calls tapered off to once a month, then once every few months, then almost never, until she needed something. My phone buzzed again, another text, this time from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Brandon. Emily doesn't know I'm texting you. We really need this loan, Grant. Emily's under a lot of pressure. Some of her work stuff, some family stuff. She's not handling it well. The business would really help her, help both of us. Please think about it." Family stuff. He meant me. I was the family stuff that Emily wasn't handling well. I deleted the text. Then I went upstairs and got ready for bed. Tomorrow was Tuesday, which meant a 10-hour shift at the depot. Trucks to maintain, schedules to coordinate. Work that was honest and straightforward and didn't involve anyone trying to slip sedatives into my food. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Emily as a child. 7 years old, standing in the kitchen with chocolate on her face, swearing she hadn't eaten the brownies Linda had made for the church bake sale. 11 years old, crying because she'd failed a math test, begging me not to be disappointed. 16 years old, asking to borrow the car, promising she'd only drive to Sarah's house and nowhere else. She'd driven to a party 30 miles away, gotten drunk. Called me at 2 a.m. from a gas station bathroom, crying and scared and sorry. I'd driven out there and brought her home and never told Linda because Emily begged me not to. Because she promised it would never happen again. Because I was her father, and fathers protect their daughters, even from themselves, especially from themselves. I'd protected her right into thinking she could get away with anything. My phone buzzed one more time. I almost didn't check it, but something made me look. Emily again. "We know you switched the plates." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I turned off the phone and went to sleep. As the story unfolds, hit the hype button, like, subscribe, and write in the comments, would you forgive them or walk away? The depot opened at 6. I arrived at 5:30, same as always, and made coffee in the break room while the building woke up around me. The fluorescent lights flickered on section by section. The dispatch radio crackled to life. Outside, truck engines rumbled as the early shift drivers started their pre-trip inspections. I'd been working at Mountainside Freight for 28 years, started as a mechanic's assistant the summer after high school, and worked my way up to supervisor. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't exciting, but it was steady. And steady had kept a roof over Emily's head and food on the table and college tuition paid until she'd decided college wasn't for her and dropped out sophomore year to pursue social media marketing, which apparently meant posting pictures of avocado toast and calling it a career. Morning, Grant. Eddie Martinez came into the break room, already looking tired despite the day barely starting. Eddie ran the night shift, which meant he was always exhausted and always drinking coffee that was 90% sugar. "You look like hell." "Good morning to you, too." "No, seriously, you okay?" He poured himself a cup, dumped in 4 packets of sugar. "You've got that look." "What look?" "The one my wife gets when I forget our anniversary, that I'm planning your murder look." I almost laughed. Almost. Family stuff. "Say no more." Eddie held up his hands. "My sister tried to borrow money last month, claimed it was for her kids' braces. Turned out she wanted a boob job. Family's great until they need something." "How'd you find out?" "Her kid doesn't need braces. Perfect teeth, like a toothpaste commercial." He drank his coffee-flavored syrup. "I told her no. She didn't talk to me for 3 weeks. Best 3 weeks I've had in years." I thought about Emily's text from last night. "We know you switched the plates," not "I'm worried about you," not "Can we talk?" Just an acknowledgement that I'd caught them and a vague threat implied by the knowing. "What do you do," I asked, "when your family stops being your family?" Emily had used that exact phrase in a group chat I'd found last week. I'd been helping her set up a new laptop. She'd asked me to, made a special trip, actually seemed grateful, and a message notification had popped up. I swear to God, if I have to fake one more smile at his depressing house. I'd pretended not to see it. She'd pretended the notification hadn't appeared. We were both excellent pretenders. "Anyway," Eddie said, "I'm out. Going home to sleep for 3 hours before my wife makes me fix the gutters. Living the dream." The morning shift rolled in. Drivers grabbed their manifests. Mechanics started their tool counts. Life at the depot moved forward with the reliable rhythm of machinery and schedules, and people who showed up and did their jobs without trying to drug anyone. Around 10, my phone rang. Unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again 5 minutes later. Same number. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail transcription appeared. Mr. Kavanaugh, this is Dennis Fletcher from First National Bank. I'm calling regarding a loan application that lists you as a co-signer. We need to verify some information. Please, call me back at... I deleted it. Lunchtime came. I ate at my desk in the small office I shared with the dispatch coordinator. A sandwich from home, an apple, water. The same lunch I'd been eating for 28 years because it was cheap and efficient, and I'd never cared enough about food to make it interesting. My phone rang again. Emily this time. I answered. I'm at work. I know. I'm sorry. Did the bank call you? Yes. And I'm at work, I repeated. We'll talk later. Dad, they need an answer today. The loan approval is time sensitive. Then I guess you should have mentioned that yesterday instead of trying to knock me out and forge my signature. Silence on the other end. Not surprised silence. Caught silence. I don't know what you're talking about, Emily said finally. The powder in the soup, the sedative, whatever you put in there thinking I wouldn't notice. Dad, you're not making sense. I switched the plates, Emily. You didn't eat the soup. I did. And nothing happened because you didn't put enough in there to knock out someone my size, or you miscalculated the dosage, or maybe you just bought the wrong thing. Doesn't matter. The point is, I know what you tried to do. More silence. Then, you're being paranoid. Am I? Yes. Seriously, Dad. This is... She took a breath. Have you been feeling okay? Like, mentally? Because this doesn't sound like you. There it was. The pivot. The deflection. I wasn't angry, I was confused. I wasn't betrayed, I was mentally unstable. Classic manipulation, turning my legitimate concern into evidence of my declining faculties. I'm fine, I said. I'm not signing any loans. Don't call the bank back and tell them it was a mistake. We can't do that. We already... She stopped. You already what? Nothing. Never mind. We'll figure it out. Emily, I have to go. I'll call you later. She hung up. Probably around the same time she'd learned that tears and apologies could erase consequences. Around the same time, I'd taught her that being her father meant being a doormat. The afternoon crept by. Trucks came and went. A driver reported a mechanical issue that turned out to be a loose battery cable. Another driver complained about the dispatch schedule, claiming his route was longer than everyone else's. It wasn't. He just liked complaining. At 4 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a text. Not Emily this time. Brandon. We need to talk. In person. Can you meet me at the site on Industrial? The site on Industrial. That was the abandoned commercial lot on the east side of town, where Brandon sometimes shot his real estate videos. Empty buildings with good natural light, or so he'd explained once during a dinner where he'd talked for 45 minutes about his creative process, without asking me a single question about my life. I'm at work, I texted back. After work then. 7 p.m., it's important. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Sheriff Mallory. We'd gone to high school together, Mallory and me. He'd been class president. I'd been nobody in particular. But we'd stayed friendly over the years in that small-town way where you're not actually friends, but you know each other well enough to nod in the grocery store and mean it. Grant, he answered. What can I do for you? You know anything about sedatives? How someone might get them? That's a weirdly specific question. I'm asking for a reason. He was quiet for a moment. Over-the-counter sleep aids, mostly. Diphenhydramine, doxylamine. Strong enough to make you drowsy if you take enough. Prescription stuff would be harder to get. Why? Just curious. Grant. What? You're not a just curious kind of person. What's going on? I thought about telling him. Thought about explaining the situation, filing a report, making it official. But what would I report? That my daughter had maybe put something in my food that I couldn't prove because I'd washed the evidence down the sink? That she'd tried to drug me so she could... What? Search my office? Forge my signature? I didn't actually know what the endgame was. Nothing, I said. Just wondering. Thanks. Grant, If someone's trying to, I'm fine. Really, thanks for the info. I hung up before he could push further. At 6:30, I left the depot and drove toward Industrial Avenue. Not because I wanted to meet Brandon, but because I wanted to see what he was really doing out there. Why that location? Why 7 o'clock specifically? Why the urgency? The sun was setting, painting everything orange and gold. Industrial Avenue was on the outskirts of town, where the commercial buildings gave way to empty lots and abandoned developments that hadn't survived the recession. The kind of area where you could film real estate videos without anyone noticing or caring. I parked 2 blocks away and walked. The lot was easy to spot. Half-finished construction, equipment long gone, weeds growing through cracked concrete. Brandon's Audi was parked near the main building, next to a white van I didn't recognize. I stayed back, hidden behind a rusted dumpster, and watched. Brandon got out of his car carrying a laptop. The van's door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, expensive suit, the kind of confident posture that came from never being told no. They talked for a minute, too far away for me to hear. Then Brandon opened the laptop and showed the man something on the screen. The man looked at it, shook his head, said something sharp enough that I could see Brandon flinch even from a distance. Then the man grabbed Brandon by the collar and shoved him against the van. I moved without thinking. Stupid, probably, but I'd spent 52 years working with my hands and my back, and some instincts don't care about logic. I came around the dumpster and called out, "Hey!" The man looked up. Brandon looked up. Everyone froze for half a second. "Who the hell are you?" the man said. "That's my father-in-law," Brandon said, his voice tight. "Grant, what are you doing here?" "Looks like I'm interrupting something." The man let go of Brandon's collar and straightened his suit. "Family meeting. Nothing to concern yourself with." "I wasn't concerned until you put your hands on him." The man smiled. It wasn't friendly. "Your son-in-law owes me money. A lot of money. And he's been making promises he can't keep." "How much?" $60,000. I looked at Brandon. "That's not equipment money." "It's complicated," Brandon said. "Uncomplicate it." "We had an investor," Brandon said quickly. "For the business. He fronted us money for equipment. But then the clients we thought we had, they backed out, and we couldn't pay him back on schedule. So you tried to get me to co-sign a loan to pay back a loan you already took from someone who's not a bank. It's not like that." "It's exactly like that." I turned to the man. "And who are you?" "Someone who doesn't appreciate being played." He looked at me more carefully. "You're the father. The one with the steady job and the clean credit. Brandon here said you were going to help. Said your signature was as good as money in hand." He lied. "Yeah, I'm starting to notice that's a pattern with him." The man stepped closer to me. Not threatening exactly, but definitely invading space. "Here's the thing. I don't care where the money comes from. But I'm getting it by Friday, or your son-in-law is going to have a very bad time." "Is that a threat?" "It's a schedule." He walked back to the van. "Friday, 60,000. Don't make me come looking for it." He drove off. Brandon leaned against his car, looking like he might throw up. "You need to leave," he said. "Emily can't know you were here." "Emily knows I switched the plates. She knows I figured it out." "That's different. This is—" He ran his hands through his hair. "You don't understand the pressure she's under, the pressure we're both under." "Then explain it." "I can't. Just, please. Don't tell her about this. Don't tell anyone. We'll figure it out." "By Friday?" "We'll figure it out," he repeated. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was 26 years old, and he'd already managed to bury himself in debt so deep he needed a man in an expensive suit and a white van to remind him of deadlines. He'd married my daughter thinking her father would be a convenient ATM. He'd helped her try to drug me, and now he was asking me for another favor. "No," I said. "Grant, no. I'm not helping. I'm not co-signing anything. I'm not giving you money. You dug this hole. You can climb out of it." I walked back to my truck. Behind me, Brandon called my name, but I didn't turn around. I got in, started the engine, and drove home while the sky turned from orange to purple to black. At a stoplight, I called Emily. She answered on the first ring. "Dad? Your husband owes $60,000 to someone who's not a bank. The loan you wanted me to co-sign wasn't for equipment. It was to pay back a debt. And that story about the sedative being paranoia? That was a lie too." Silence. "Emily? Where are you? Does it matter? Dad, please, come to our place. Let's talk about this face to face. So you can try again? Put something in my drink this time?" "I never tried anything. I don't know what Brandon told you. He didn't tell me anything. I figured it out on my own. I'm good at that. Figuring things out, noticing details, seeing patterns. You know, all those skills you used to call being paranoid when you were growing up." "Dad, you're not being fair. You tried to drug me, Emily. I tried to help you relax. You've been so stressed lately, so tense. You thought you could knock me out and search my office. That's not what happened. Then what did happen?" More silence, longer this time. "Come to our place," she said finally. "Please. Let me explain everything. It's not what you think." I hung up. I drove home. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Dark and empty and quiet, the way it had been for 3 years. I went inside and locked the door and turned on lights one room at a time, pushing back the shadows. In my office, I pulled out Emily's folder again. The bank statements, the credit card bills, the eviction notice. I spread them across my desk and looked at them, really looked at them, seeing the pattern. Emily wasn't just in trouble. She was desperate. Desperate people made desperate choices, and desperate people with access to their father's house and their father's trust and their father's tendency to forgive anything. They tried to drug him and steal his identity and ruin his life, apparently. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Hazel, Emily's friend. We met at her birthday party last year. Listen, I don't know what's going on between you two, but Emily's been telling people some things that don't sound right. About you, about your health, about your decision-making. Just thought you should know." I stared at the message. "What kind of things?" I texted back. "That you're confused lately, forgetting stuff, making bad financial decisions." She showed me a message you sent her that was all garbled, like you couldn't type properly. Said she's worried you might be developing dementia or something. I'd never sent Emily a garbled message. I barely texted her at all, and when I did, it was simple stuff. "Okay. See you then. Thanks." "She's lying," I texted back. "I figured. That's why I'm telling you. Emily's sweet, but I've known her long enough to know when she's spinning a story. Just watch your back. Thanks. No problem. Also, for what it's worth, she's been telling people you're giving them money for Brandon's business. Like, a lot of money. As early inheritance or something. Just FYI. I put the phone down and sat in the dark office, thinking. Emily wasn't just trying to steal from me. She was building a case, a narrative, a story where I was declining mentally, making poor decisions, unable to manage my own affairs. A story that would justify her taking control. A story that would make her look like a concerned daughter instead of a thief. And if I tried to stop her, if I tried to tell people what she was really doing, I'd look exactly like the confused, paranoid old man she was claiming I was. Smart, cruel, effective. My daughter had learned well. I turned off the lights and went upstairs, lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Emily as a child, thinking about Emily as an adult, wondering when exactly the switch had happened, when exactly love had turned into leverage. My phone buzzed one last time. "Emily. We're coming over. Tomorrow morning early. Don't ignore us. We need to talk." I didn't respond. I just lay there in the dark, listening to the house creak and settle around me, and started planning. If Emily wanted to play games with narratives and manipulation and lies, fine. But she'd forgotten something important. I'd been her father for 26 years. I knew every trick she had, and I'd taught her most of them. I didn't sleep, just sat at my kitchen table, watching the sun come up through the window, thinking about what I was about to do. At 8 o'clock, I called Emily. She answered immediately. "Dad? Thank God. Listen, about yesterday. I'm filing a police report for identity theft and fraud. I'm also pursuing a restraining order, and I'm suing you for the full amount you've stolen from me, including the credit card you opened in my name." Silence. "Dad, I'm not done. I'm also reporting Brandon's loan shark friend for breaking and entering, and I'm going to contact every single person you've lied to, your friends, your employers, that Facebook group, and tell them the truth, with evidence. You can't do that? Watch me. Dad, please, if you do this, we'll lose everything. Our apartment, Brandon's business, my job, everything. You already lost everything. You just haven't admitted it yet." Her voice cracked. "What do you want from me? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we lied. I'm sorry we stole. I'm sorry we tried to manipulate you. Is that what you want to hear? I want you to understand that actions have consequences." "I understand. I do. But if you report us, we're done. Brandon's loan shark will come after us. We'll have criminal records. We'll never recover from this. You should have thought about that before you stole my identity. I was desperate. So was I. After Linda died, after 3 years of eating alone in this house, after realizing my only child couldn't be bothered to call unless she needed something, I took a breath. But I didn't steal from you. I didn't lie to you. I didn't try to have you declared incompetent so I could take your money, because that's not what family does." "What do you want from me?" she asked again, quieter this time. "The truth. All of it. Why you really tried to drug me. What you were actually planning to do." Another long silence. Then Emily started talking. "Brandon told me you hit on my friend Hazel at my birthday party last year. He said you got drunk and made inappropriate comments. Said she was uncomfortable but didn't want to tell me because she knew it would hurt our relationship." I closed my eyes. "I wasn't even at your birthday party last year." "What?" "I was working. Double shift because 2 drivers called in sick. I sent you a card and a check. You texted me thanks 3 days later." "But Brandon showed me photos. You were there." "Let me guess. Photos from some other event where I happened to be in the background?" She didn't answer. Didn't need to. "He lied to you, Emily. He's been lying to you about everything. The business, the debt, me, all of it. Why would he do that? Because he needed you to think I was dangerous, unstable, not someone who could be trusted. Because if you believed that, you'd be more willing to go along with his plan to steal from me." I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. Fast, shallow. The sound of someone's entire worldview crumbling. "The sedative," I said. "That wasn't to search my office, was it?" "No." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Brandon said we needed to have you evaluated, that you were becoming a danger to yourself, that if we could get you to a doctor, they'd see you were declining mentally, and then we could get power of attorney, for your own protection." And you believed him. I didn't know what to believe. You'd been so distant, so cold. And then Brandon showed me those photos and told me those stories, and I thought maybe you really were changing, becoming someone different. I wanted to yell, wanted to scream at her for being so easily manipulated, so willingly blind. But what came out was something worse. "I've been distant because you stopped calling. I've been cold because you only show up when you need money. And I've been different because I'm alone, Emily. I've been alone for 3 years, and you haven't noticed because you've been too busy lying to your friends about how generous I am. Dad, I'm still filing the reports. I'm still pursuing legal action. But I wanted you to know why. Not because I hate you, because I'm done being your victim." I hung up before she could respond. Then I drove to the police station and spent 3 hours filing reports. Identity theft, fraud, breaking and entering. Mallory walked me through every form, every statement, every piece of evidence. "You're doing the right thing," he said. "Then why does it feel like I'm destroying my own family?" "Because you are. But they destroyed it first. You're just making it official." By the time I left the station, it was almost noon. I had copies of all the reports, documentation of everything, a case number for the restraining order, and a missed call from Brandon. I listened to the voicemail in my truck. "Grant, it's Brandon. Emily told me what you're doing. I don't blame you. I really don't. But you need to know that guy I owe money to. He's not going to wait for the legal system to sort this out. He's coming for his money. Today. And if I don't have it, he's coming for you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I tried to fix this. I tried to—" The message cut off. I sat in the parking lot, staring at my phone, feeling that cold, hard thing inside me get even colder. Brandon wasn't apologizing because he felt bad. He was apologizing because he'd given the loan shark my name and address. Because he'd pointed this dangerous person directly at me as a way to solve his own problems. My son-in-law had put a target on my back. I called Mallory. "That loan shark, the one I reported, he's coming today." "Where are you?" "Police station parking lot." "Stay there. I'm sending units to your house and to Emily and Brandon's apartment. We'll handle this." "What about Emily? What about her? Is she safe? If this guy shows up?" "Grant, she's not your responsibility right now. Let us handle it." He hung up. I sat in my truck, hands shaking slightly, wondering when exactly I'd crossed from being a concerned father to being someone who had to let the police protect his daughter because she couldn't be trusted to protect herself. My phone rang again. Emily. "Dad, Brandon's gone. He left. Just took the car and drove away, and he's not answering his phone. That man, the one who threatened you, he called our apartment. He said if Brandon doesn't show up with the money by 6 o'clock, he's coming for me instead." "Where are you?" "At the apartment. Alone. I don't know what to do." "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone. Mallory's sending units to your location." "Dad, I'm scared." 3 words that might have worked yesterday. 3 words that might have made me drive over there, play the hero, put myself between Emily and the consequences of her choices, but not today. "You should be scared," I said. "This is what desperation looks like from the other side." "What?" "You tried to manipulate me. You tried to steal from me. You tried to destroy my reputation and take control of my life. And you did all of it because you were desperate and scared and convinced that you had no other choice." I took a breath. "Well, now you know how it feels, to be trapped, to see everything falling apart, to realize the choices you made led you somewhere you never wanted to go." "Are you seriously lecturing me right now?" "No, I'm telling you goodbye." "What does that mean?" "It means I filed the reports. It means the restraining order is being processed. It means you and Brandon are on your own now. Whatever happens next, you earned it." "Dad, please." "Lock your doors, Emily. The police are coming." I hung up and drove home. The white van was back in my driveway. This time, I didn't go inside. I parked on the street and called Mallory. "The van's here." "Stay in your vehicle. Do not engage. Units are 3 minutes out." I stayed in my truck, watching the van, watching my front door. 3 minutes felt like an hour. Then the man emerged from my house carrying something. My laptop. The one from my office. He saw me in the truck, smiled, waved, and got in the van and drove away. By the time Mallory's units arrived, the van was gone. But my house had been ransacked. Drawers pulled out, files scattered, my office destroyed. They'd been looking for something. Money, probably. Documents. Anything valuable they could take as payment for Brandon's debt. "He's escalating," Mallory said, surveying the damage. This guy's getting desperate, which makes him dangerous. He took my laptop. We'll try to track it, but honestly, he probably just wanted it for resale value. Quick cash. How much longer do I have to live like this? Mallory looked at me. Until we catch him, or until he gets his money from somewhere else, or until… He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Until someone got hurt. I spent the rest of the afternoon cleaning up, organizing files, documenting the new damage for insurance, trying to make my house feel like my house again instead of a crime scene. At 5 o'clock, Mallory called. We've got Brandon. He tried to cross state lines, got pulled over for speeding, and the trooper recognized the name from our bulletin. What about Emily? Safe. She's at the apartment with a patrol unit outside. The loan shark hasn't shown up yet, but we've got people watching for the van. Good. Grant, I need to tell you something. Brandon's talking. He's giving us everything. Names, accounts, details about the loan shark operation. He's trying to cut a deal. Let him. The problem is, some of what he's saying implicates Emily, not just in the identity theft, but in the planning. He's claiming she was the mastermind, that she manipulated him into all of this. I sat down on my couch. Do you believe him? Honestly? I think they're both responsible. They fed off each other's desperation. But Brandon's the one facing the most serious charges, so he's doing whatever he can to shift blame. What happens to Emily? Depends on what the DA decides. Could be probation, could be jail time, could be somewhere in between. I closed my eyes. She's my daughter. I know. I don't want her to go to jail. Then you might want to consider not pressing charges on the civil side. The criminal stuff is out of your hands now. The state's pursuing that. But the identity theft, the fraud, the financial damages, you could drop those. And let her get away with it? No. Let her face consequences that don't destroy the rest of her life. There's a difference. After Mallory hung up, I sat in my wrecked living room and thought about Emily, about the choices she'd made, the lies she'd told, the person she'd become, and about the fact that she was still my daughter, still the little girl who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during long car rides, still the teenager who'd cried in my arms when her first boyfriend broke her heart, still family, even when family felt like a curse. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Hazel, Emily's friend. I just wanted to tell you that I believe you. About everything. Emily called me crying, trying to explain her side, but it didn't add up. I'm sorry for ever believing her stories about you. You deserve better. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Thank you." It wasn't much, but it was something. Acknowledgement that the truth was finally coming out, that the lies Emily had spread were unraveling. At 6:30, Mallory called again. "We got the van, pulled it over 3 blocks from your house. Driver matched your description. He's in custody." "What about my laptop?" "In the van. We'll get it back to you after we process it as evidence." "And Emily?" "Still at the apartment. Brandon's still in custody. You're safe now, Grant. It's over." But it wasn't over. Not really. Because Emily was still out there. Still facing charges. Still drowning in the consequences of her choices. And I still had to decide whether to save her or let her sink. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. Most from numbers I didn't recognize. 2 from Emily. 1 from Brandon's mother, who I'd met exactly twice in the 5 years Emily had been married to her son. I didn't call anyone back. Instead, I drove to the depot and worked a full shift. 10 hours of routine. 10 hours of trucks and schedules and problems that could actually be solved. 10 hours of not thinking about my daughter sitting in her apartment, probably crying, probably panicking, probably calling everyone she knew, trying to figure out how to fix the unfixable. Eddie found me in the break room around 3. "You okay?" he asked. "You've been quiet all day, quieter than usual." "I'm fine. That's what people say when they're not fine. I looked at him. Eddie, with his perpetually tired eyes and his coffee-flavored syrup addiction and his ability to see through bullshit without making a big deal about it. My daughter stole from me, I said, multiple times, and now she's facing criminal charges, and part of me wants to help her because she's my daughter, but part of me thinks maybe she needs to face this on her own. Eddie nodded slowly. My sister, the one who wanted money for fake braces? She got arrested last year. Embezzlement from her job. Small-time stuff, but still felony level. My mom begged me to help her. Post bail. Pay for a lawyer. I said no. How'd that work out? She did 6 months. Got out. Got a job at a call center. She's doing okay now. Better than okay, actually. Turns out consequences are good teachers. He poured himself coffee. But here's the thing. I didn't say no because I wanted her to suffer. I said no because I knew if I helped her, she'd never learn. She'd just keep relying on other people to fix her mistakes. Do you regret it? Every day. And never. That's the thing about family. You can make the right choice and still feel like shit about it. After work, I drove to Emily's apartment. Not inside, just parked across the street and watched the building. The patrol unit was still there, parked 2 spaces down. Protection from the loan shark, though he was in custody now. Protection from the reality that Emily had destroyed her own life and didn't know how to rebuild it. My phone rang. Emily. This time, I answered. Dad, she said. Her voice was raw, exhausted. Can we talk, please? We're talking now. I mean in person. I need to see you. Why? Because I need to explain. To really explain. Not what Brandon wanted me to say or what I thought would make you help us. The actual truth. I looked at the building. At the window, I knew was her apartment, though I couldn't tell which one from this angle. I'm across the street, I said. Silence. Then, you're here? I've been here for 20 minutes. Why didn't you come up? Because I wasn't sure I wanted to. And now? I thought about it. Thought about walking away, driving home, letting Emily figure out her own mess without me standing in the middle of it. But I was already here, already involved, already her father, whether I wanted to be or not. I'm coming up, I said. The apartment was on the 3rd floor, stairs instead of an elevator. I climbed slowly, giving myself time to change my mind, giving Emily time to prepare whatever speech she'd been rehearsing. She opened the door before I could knock. She looked terrible, hair unwashed, no makeup, eyes red from crying, wearing sweatpants and an old college t-shirt I remembered buying her during the semester she'd actually attended. Hi, she said. Hi. She stepped aside. I walked in. The apartment was small, expensive judging by the location, but small. 1 bedroom, kitchen with granite counters and stainless steel appliances that probably looked great in photos but were cramped in person. Living room with a couch and a TV, and absolutely no personality. This was where Emily and Brandon had been building their empire. This sad little box where they'd convinced themselves they were successful. Want something to drink? Emily asked. No. She sat on the couch. I stayed standing. Brandon's mother called me, she said. She's furious. Keeps saying this is my fault, that I corrupted her perfect son. Did you? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe we corrupted each other. She looked up at me. Do you want to know when I realized how bad things were? Tell me. 6 months ago, when I opened the credit card in your name, I told myself it was temporary, that we'd pay it off before you ever found out, that it wasn't really stealing because we were going to give it back. She laughed, bitter and harsh. But the second I hit submit on that application, I knew. I knew I'd crossed a line. I knew I'd become someone you wouldn't recognize. And I did it anyway. Why? Because I was scared. Because Brandon kept saying we were almost there, almost successful, almost out of the hole. And I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe we could fix everything before anyone noticed. She wiped her eyes. And because part of me was angry at you. For what? For being stable. For having your shit together. For not struggling the way we were struggling. For making it look so easy. You think my life is easy? No, I know it's not. But from where I was standing, it looked that way. You had a job, a house, savings. Everything I didn't have. Everything I thought I'd have by now. I sat down on the other end of the couch. You're 26 years old, Emily. You're supposed to be struggling. That's how you learn. Mom never struggled. Your mother struggled plenty. You just didn't see it because she didn't want you to. Emily looked at me. What do you mean? I mean, we were broke for years after you were born. I mean, your mother worked 3 jobs while going to nursing school. I mean, we ate pasta and canned vegetables for dinner 6 nights a week because that's what we could afford. You don't remember because you were too young, but we struggled. We just didn't make it your problem. I didn't know. That was intentional. She was quiet for a long time. Then, Brandon's cooperating with the police. He's telling them everything, including things that aren't true. I heard. He's saying I planned all of it, that I manipulated him, that he was just following my instructions. Did you? No. We planned it together. Both of us, equal partners in terrible decisions. She twisted her hands together. What happens now? That depends. On what? On whether you tell the truth. The actual truth. Not the version that makes you look better. Not the version that shifts blame to Brandon. The truth. Will that help? Probably not, but it's the right thing to do. She nodded slowly. Are you going to drop the charges? Which ones? The civil ones. The identity theft and fraud charges. The ones you filed. I thought about Mallory's words. Let her face consequences that don't destroy the rest of her life. I don't know yet, I said. What would it take? For you to drop them? For you to understand what you did? Really understand. Not just apologize because you got caught. Not just feel bad because there are consequences. But actually understand that you tried to destroy your own father to save yourself. She flinched. I never wanted to destroy you. Then what did you want? I wanted you to save me. Like you always did when I was a kid. When I messed up, you fixed it. When I made mistakes, you made them disappear. I guess I thought that's what fathers did. It is what fathers do, when their children are children. But you're not a child anymore, Emily. You're an adult who committed crimes, and I can't fix that. Can't or won't. Both. She started crying again, big, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. The kind of crying that wasn't performance or manipulation, just pain. I sat there and watched her cry and felt absolutely nothing. Not anger, not sympathy, not love, not hate, just emptiness where my daughter used to be. Eventually, she stopped, wiped her face on her sleeve, took a shaky breath. I'm going to tell them the truth, she said. All of it. Brandon's version and my version and what actually happened. I'm going to take responsibility. Good. Will you be there? When I go to court? No. She nodded. I understand. I stood up to leave, got to the door, then turned back. You know what the worst part is? I said. Not that you stole from me, not that you lied, not even that you tried to have me declared incompetent. The worst part is that you never just asked. You never said, Dad, I'm in trouble. I made mistakes. Can you help me? You went straight to manipulation and theft because you assumed I'd say no. You didn't even give me the chance to be your father. You just wrote me off as an obstacle. Would you have helped? If I'd asked? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But at least you would have known. At least I would have had the choice. I left. Drove home. Sat in my driveway for 20 minutes, staring at my house, thinking about the fact that this was my life now. This emptiness. This silence. This reality, where my only child was a stranger who'd tried to steal my identity. My phone buzzed. A text from Mallory. Brandon's been charged. Emily's still being questioned. DA's deciding what to pursue. Thought you'd want to know. I texted back, "Thanks." Then I went inside, locked the door, and sat in my wrecked living room until the sun went down and the house went dark, and I couldn't tell the difference between the shadows and the emptiness anymore. The next few days blurred together. I worked, came home, slept, repeated. Mallory called with updates. Brandon was facing fraud charges, identity theft, conspiracy. Emily was cooperating, telling the truth like she'd promised. The DA was considering a plea deal. On Friday, my lawyer called. I'd hired him after filing the civil suit, mostly because Mallory had insisted I needed legal representation. "The criminal case is moving forward," he said, "but we need to discuss your civil claims." "What about them?" "Realistically, you're not going to recover much money. Emily and Brandon are broke. Even if you win the judgment, collecting is going to be nearly impossible." "I don't care about the money." "Then why pursue it?" "Good question. Why was I pursuing it? To punish Emily? To make a point? To prove that actions had consequences? Or because I didn't know what else to do with the rage that kept burning in my chest every time I thought about what she'd done? "To make it official," I said finally. "To have a legal record that says what they did was wrong." "You already have that. The criminal charges do that." "Then to make sure it follows them, so they can't pretend it didn't happen." The lawyer was quiet for a moment. "That's vindictive. Is that a legal term?" "No, just an observation." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and thought about vindictiveness, about the line between justice and revenge, about whether I was protecting myself or just inflicting pain because I'd had pain inflicted on me. My phone rang. Unknown number. I'd been getting a lot of those lately, reporters mostly, somehow sniffing out the story of a daughter who'd tried to steal from her father. Small-town drama with all the ingredients of a good headline. I didn't answer. But then a voicemail appeared. I listened to it out of curiosity more than anything else. "Mr. Kavanaugh, this is Andrea Mills from Channel 7 News. We're running a story about financial elder abuse, and we'd love to interview you about your experience. We think your story could really help other people recognize the warning signs. Please call me back at—" I deleted it. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't someone to be pitied. I was just a man whose daughter had made terrible choices. That night, Mallory showed up at my house with pizza. "You eating?" he asked, walking past me into the kitchen. "I eat." "Eddie says you've lost weight, says you're not taking lunch breaks." "Eddie talks too much." Mallory set the pizza on the table and grabbed plates from my cabinet like he owned the place. "Sit, eat, talk to me." I sat, took a slice. "What do you want to talk about?" "How you're doing." "I'm fine." "Grant." I put down the pizza. "What do you want me to say? That I'm devastated, betrayed, angry?" "All of that's true, but it doesn't change anything. Emily's facing charges. Brandon's facing charges. The loan shark's facing charges. Everything's being handled through the proper channels. There's nothing left for me to do except wait." "That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking how you are, as a person, not as a victim in a case file." I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Empty," I said finally. "I feel empty, like someone carved out the part of me that used to care about family and just left a hole." "That's normal. Is it? You just found out your daughter tried to destroy your life." We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Mallory said, "You know you don't have to forgive her, right?" "Everyone keeps telling me she's my daughter. That family is important, that I should consider giving her another chance." "Everyone can mind their own business." He took another slice. "You don't owe Emily forgiveness. You don't owe her understanding. You don't owe her anything. She burned that bridge herself. But she's still my daughter. So what? She stopped acting like your daughter the second she decided to steal from you. I looked at Mallory. You really believe that? I've been a cop for 20 years. I've seen families destroy each other over money, over property, over grudges that started so long ago nobody remembers why they're even fighting. And you know what the common thread is? The people who escape are the ones who recognize when it's time to walk away. Walk away from my own daughter? Walk away from someone who's hurting you, who happens to be your daughter. There's a difference. After Mallory left, I cleaned up the pizza boxes and went to my office. The room was still a mess from the break-in. I'd reorganized the important stuff but hadn't bothered with the rest. I found an old photo album buried under some files, pictures from Emily's childhood, birthday parties, school plays, family vacations, Linda and Emily laughing at something I'd said off camera. I flipped through the pages slowly, looking at a life that felt like it had happened to someone else, a version of Grant Kavanaugh who'd believed his daughter would always be his daughter, who'd never imagined a future where she'd become someone he needed protection from. I closed the album and put it back in the drawer. On Monday, the DA called. We're offering Emily a plea deal, 2 years probation, restitution for the financial damages, mandatory counseling, no jail time if she stays clean. And Brandon? He's looking at 2 to 5, less if he keeps cooperating. What do you need from me? Your agreement to accept the restitution terms, and your willingness to drop the civil suit. If you pursue that separately, it complicates the plea agreement. There it was, the choice. Hold on to my anger and my legal claims and watch Emily navigate a complex legal mess. Or let it go and accept that the criminal justice system was handling it. Can I think about it? You have until Friday. I spent the week thinking, working, avoiding phone calls, avoiding the news, avoiding anything that reminded me I had to make a decision. On Thursday night, Emily called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hi, she said. Hi. The DA probably told you about the plea deal. He did. Are you going to accept it? I don't know yet. She was quiet. Then, I got a job, just part-time right now at a coffee shop, but it's something honest. Good. And I moved out of the apartment. Couldn't afford it anyway. I'm staying with Hazel right now. She's been really kind, more than I deserve. What about Brandon? I filed for divorce. Or I'm going to, once he's sentenced. I can't be married to him anymore. I can't look at him without seeing everything we did. Everything I did. I didn't say anything. Didn't know what to say. Dad, I'm not calling to ask you to forgive me. I know I don't deserve that. I'm just calling to tell you that I'm trying. To be better, to take responsibility, to become someone you might not hate. I don't hate you. You should. Probably, but I don't. Another long silence. If you drop the civil suit, she said, I'll pay you back anyway. Every cent. However long it takes. I'll get a payment plan in writing, legal, binding. I'll do whatever you want. Just, please don't make this worse than it already is. It was already as bad as it could get the second you stole from me. I know. You're right. She took a shaky breath. I'm trying to say I'm sorry, and I don't know how. Because sorry doesn't fix anything. Sorry doesn't undo what I did. Sorry is just a word, and I need it to be more than that, but I don't know how to make it more. I sat there holding the phone, listening to my daughter cry, feeling that emptiness in my chest shift slightly. Not filling up, just shifting, making room for something else. Not forgiveness, not yet. Maybe not ever, but something. I'll think about it, I said. Thank you. Don't thank me. I haven't decided anything. I know, but you're listening. That's more than I deserve. After we hung up, I went to my office and pulled out the file I'd built. All the evidence, all the documentation, all the proof of Emily's betrayal. I spread it across my desk and looked at it. Then I started shredding, not all of it, just the personal stuff, the screenshots from social media, the notes I'd made about her lies, the timeline I'd built showing her manipulation. The legal documents stayed, the financial records stayed, everything the DA needed stayed. But the rest? The proof that I'd been hurt? The evidence of my own pain? I fed it through the shredder and watched it turn into confetti. Because Mallory was right. I didn't owe Emily forgiveness, but I didn't owe her my continued suffering either. On Friday, I called the DA back. "I'll accept the plea deal," I said, "and I'm dropping the civil suit." Can I ask why? Because I'm tired, and because my daughter is still my daughter, even when she's not. I'll let her lawyer know. After the call, I sat in my office and waited to feel something. Relief, maybe, or closure, or peace. But all I felt was that same emptiness, just slightly less sharp around the edges. Maybe that was enough.